Well, today I have a surprise for everyone. I have Ben Lesnick from Cloud Imperium Games here today, the community manager, and he's agreed to spend a little bit of time with us for a brief interview. Hello, Ben. How are you today?
Hey, good to see you. Very, very good.
I really appreciate you doing the interview with me. I know you guys are hard at work there, so I just wanted to put out the thank you right now.
Oh, not a problem. It's podcasts like this that keep the community going. I mean, I'm amazed at how much of this content you people are putting together and how professional it is. It's very impressive.
The word professional in my show, I don't know yet. I'm still slumping through it as much as I can.
Well, you've seen the first Wingman's Hangar. We're all growing.
Yeah, well, you were doing it in a basement, I believe, and I'm doing it above a garage, so it's probably
about equal.
Yeah, about equal. I used to do a podcast called The Addicted Gamer, and I had the same two questions in my first two questions, and I think I'm going to do that here too, since the name of my show kind of kept that old part of it. So the first thing I want to know is, I'd like you to see if you can recall the first computer or game system that you first owned that you actually started to play games on.
Oh, well, that is easy. I remember this very clearly. It was an Apple II Plus that it was my father's, and as long as I can remember, we played games together. And the big one was this old space fighting game called Space Vikings, I think it was, and my whole family would get together and we'd arrange our chairs like it was the Enterprise, and we'd be the crew of the ship, and he'd fly it, and it was actually a lot like Star Citizen. It's a game no one remembers, but you would go around and fight these big triangle things and take over planets and run the economy. It was
reminds me of a bit of Elite. Now, were your family kind of sci-fi nerds?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I grew up with that.
Okay.
Parents gave me to watch Star Trek as soon as I could.
I pretty much found all that stuff on my own. Looking back on gaming, can you tell me the first game that actually got you addicted, that had you playing all night?
Well, I mean, I know it'll sound like I'm sucking up, but anybody who knows me knows it's Wing Commander, the original Wing Commander. That just changed my life, absolutely. I mean, there was nothing like that before Wing Commander. It really got you into the experience.
Yeah. The first video I did over here, I found Wing Commander on Good Old Games, and I played through the first couple of missions, and I did a video recalling my first experience with that game. I had to actually build a computer because they didn't have it for the Amiga when I was playing it. So,
I actually just about a year ago bought my first Amiga because I wanted to try the Amiga version of that game. So.
CD32 was better. It had the better graphics, and I'm glad that they pushed that one out.
Yeah, that was actually all done by one guy named Nick Pelling. He did the entire conversion himself, both versions. That was a different kind of software development back then.
Oh yeah, and you had to create the actual operating environment in the game all in one box, right? All right, so can you recall when you first started thinking that you wanted to have a career in gaming?
Never, really. I never set out to be a game designer, community manager. I was a big Wing Commander fan. I ran WCNews.com, the big Wing Commander community, but it was just out of my love for Wing Commander. I got to know the guys over the years, and I would just keep getting called into whatever project was trying to bring back Wing Commander. If it wasn't Chris, it was Electronic Arts or somebody else pitching something, and they'd always come to me and say, "Oh, well, you run this big community. Help me with this pitch, and if it's successful, we'll give you a job and you can work in the game industry." I'm like, okay. And I've done it so many times that I didn't think it was ever actually going to happen. So it was never really my goal to be in the game industry. So.
I noticed the necklace you're wearing is the Pilgrim necklace.
Yeah, that's my Pilgrim Cross.
Is that from the actual movie, or did you get that after the fact?
For whatever reason, there was actually a company that made replicas of this after the movie came out, and I've worn it ever since.
Oh boy, really? Part of that brings up some systems and game that I will hold on to in my head for when I talk to Rob. Can you recall your first interaction with Chris and what got you into whatever company you were working for him at the time?
Well, I guess I've known Chris since the late '90s. I mean, we corresponded back when he was at Origin and then Digital Anvil. Um, More and more when he was putting out the Wing Commander movie. I remember I worked with him a bunch, which is just kind of the promotion for that. And we've gone back and forth over the years. He's tried a number of times to bring back Wing Commander. There was going to be a TV series, because he actually retains the TV and movie rights to Wing Commander. They tried to do a TV series around 2001 or so. I remember there was like a next gen, it was a GameCube at the time game they were pitching.
Yeah.
And every time I've always been there to try and help out, and it doesn't really go anywhere. And I love Chris, so I would always help him no matter what. But I didn't really expect when Star Citizen started that it would actually lead to anything. So.
Okay. Can you recall your first time that you heard the pitch for Star Citizen?
Yes, I think it was called Space Trader at the time. And I mean, it's everything a Wing Commander fan would ever really want. It's Wing Commander and Privateer writ large. It sounded like a crazy amount of stuff to do. I had no idea how we would pull it off at the time, or if there would be an audience for it. It was all unknown at the time. This was months before the crowdfunding campaign.
Well, yeah, and that's going to be the next few questions. Crowdfunding is truly a unique way of funding a game of this size. And I already see other companies trying to do it. I see Sony trying it with Landmark and with EverQuest Next. But you guys are pretty much the pioneers in it. So can you explain to me the challenges or the things that you had to change when taking on the role of community manager of this very high energy, loving, but also at some points overly passionate community?
Well, the community has surprised us a lot. We went into it basically knowing we would bring over the 5,000 guys who are still into Wing Commander, older gamers, kind of subdued but really passionate. But they'll remember Wing Commander. They've been gainfully employed for 10 years, so they'll have some money they might be willing to pass to Chris for this project. And what we got was just 100 times as many people as we expected. Just younger gamers, older gamers. I mean, I remember going to a Gamescom and meeting a 70-year-old gamer who was just so excited about Star Citizen, how Chris was affecting the industry. It's just been such a cool cross-section of people. Nothing we expected. It's been taking it one day at a time, reacting to this community coming together.
Yeah, it really is a phenomenon if you think about it. My next question has to do with the way that you actually are challenged at some points. We've had, I saw a little bit of frustration in Chris's voice when he was talking about the freelancer, and I understand it. You cannot make everybody happy. It's tough. But recently, we've had 3 incidents of people jumping the gun, not really looking deep into what was going on. One would be the dissolving, getting rid of LTI, then the Idris, hitting the button to buy and it not working even if it was in their item. And then this weekend, people didn't read what was being said. They read between the lines with organizations saying that they were only going to be in one. Do you find that the passion in the community sometimes needs to be handled differently than other games that you've worked on?
Well, my experience is, my feeling is anyway, that the minute they stop being that passionate, we'll have lost something. We want people to be that engaged, even if it's a headache at the time. They really care about the game in a way that you don't have with a big publisher, and it gives us an opportunity to show them how different we are from Electronic Arts or Sony in how we respond to these things. Like the organization one is great. I mean, we weren't clear that this was just the first drop, and you will be able to be in multiple organizations, and that's been in the game design spec since day one. You'll have to be, because there'll be NPC organizations and player alliances and all sorts of things. So it's a great way to give us a jumping off point to communicate with everyone what we're thinking better. It keeps us honest.
Well, I've never seen a company more transparent in development in my life. I've played the Blizzard games, and 9 out of 10 times You have absolutely no idea what's going to be in that game until it actually hits beta, which is usually just months before it comes out. So
yeah, there's something to be said for that sometimes. You know, if a game has a expansive story, I mean, we're going to keep the lid on Squadron 42 as much as we can just because we don't want to give away the plot before it comes out. But definitely...
I'll kill you if you do.
Yeah. But definitely openness in game design, I think, is it's going to be a big thing in the future, and we're very happy to be trying it out now, figuring out what works and what doesn't.
All right. So just last question before we tie it up. Is there anything that, because of the passion of the current fan base, that has changed that wasn't expected to be changing in the development process so far?
It's more of a reassigning priorities. The game itself is Chris's vision, and it's staying very true to what he's wanted to do. When we went into it, we thought the big deal was going to be Squadron 42, the single-player campaign, and the massive multiplayer stuff would kind of spawn after that with the higher stretch goals, and it would get people interested, but people were going to want that Chris Roberts cinematic experience again. And no, it's turned out that people read this idea of ship ownership and making your own way in the universe, so we've shifted in that way. I mean, it's all stuff we wanted to do, but we definitely changed our priorities.
Okay. So the last question, and this one's a hard one for me to ask because I don't know what the answer is going to be. And this one is just about the ship purchases. Now, my understanding when I pledged the multitudes that I pledged was that I was pledging to help develop the game. Other people are putting it in their head like it's a value on the ship. Now, I know the systems are going to change very quickly when the game goes live, and instead of paying money for ships, you're going to be paying UEE credits. Is that correct? So it takes a dollar value that you have now and puts it into a time value later. Do you feel that some of the fans are putting this dollar value on the ships when it wasn't intended to have a dollar value on it in the beginning?
To some degree. The ships, they're just the start of the experience. When you get into the actual systems, it's going to be the upgrades and what you do with them that actually costs a lot of your UE credits. Fans and dollar value, though. Certainly, we've seen all sorts of. I mean, we've seen a whole economy spin off with the gray market, and our feeling is
unexpected gray market, right?
Yeah, the gray market, the people who are reselling chips for LTI, and you know we try to dissuade that as much as we can. We are being honest when we say that LTI is not going to be that valuable in the finished game. You should not go through some outside vendor and spend extra money for your ship. It's going to be a little convenience. It's nothing major, but people don't believe that. I think they're burned by big MMOs where you pay to play, which
I think they're more or less looking at it like LOL, League of Legends, where you buy the armor and you buy the different characters and everything. So they're associating that with something along that end. I didn't want to ask you that question, to be honest with you. It's just one of the ones that I think that whenever I talk to one of the fans in my thread, and I find that people have this piece that they don't realize they're helping to develop the game. They're not actually buying the ship. But I'm not sure if that's what anyone intended there, and I'm not looking for you to make that policy. You know what I mean?
Oh, no, that's certainly what we intended, and the idea was we get a different experience with the different ships rather than have some advantage in the game. It's that rock, paper, scissors mechanic that Chris is imagining, so
right.
If you pick up the Banu Merchantman, you're going to have a different experience than the Retaliator Bomber.
Yeah. I mean, if you guys didn't make such beautiful ships, it wouldn't be so, you know what I mean?
Well, you know, people are crazy to buy them even before we show them the pictures. It's nuts. And we certainly appreciate that, but I hope they can see through our actions that we don't want to encourage this sort of gray market extra value for the ships. People going crazy to get the limited ships. We want to make it available to everybody as best we can while still funding the game.
I think by next year when we're live, this is going to be a moot point, right? People are going to be in game. They're going to be trading and salvaging and upgrading parts and overclocking and modding engines and things, so it will be a much different experience within a year.
Yeah, a
Wow.
lot of people don't have this experience. You know, they don't have that classic Chris Roberts game experience. They know modern games that, you know, nickel and dime you, and they don't necessarily trust us, but they know it's going to be a cool game, and we're going to earn their trust when it launches.
Right. So when you're looking, so I'm going to ask you a question that has nothing to do with Star Citizen. What other games do you play, and what's the number one game that you look at today in your, like when you go home, gotta play it?
I am about 30 hours into Pokemon X right now.
And that's in the DS
Yeah,
XL, right?
the 3DS, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my wife is actually very frustrated with me because I come home and I play Pokemon for 4 hours. Once I get through that, I'll be done. No, I played a lot of Bioshock Infinite. I thought that was a really nice to play game.
Yeah.
I'm a retro gamer mostly, though. I spend a lot of my time building old PCs. I kind of look up what the top end specs for like Wing Commander 3 were, and stuff I couldn't have afforded when I was 15, and I put that together.
15 and Wing Commander 3? God, you're younger than me.
Oh God, how much? Oh, I guess I was 13 when Wing Commander 3 came out.
Holy cow. I'm 48, so it's like when I got Wing Commander, I was already in my late teens, I guess. No, early 20s. Holy cow. Time flies. I don't have much more for you, but I would like to thank you for coming on the show.
Oh, well, thank you for having the show, for spreading the word about Star Citizen, for getting people excited.
Have you watched the show so far?
I have, yeah. And
Yeah.
we love your questions. You said it in Wingman's Hangar, too.
Yeah, you didn't show my sons in the last one.
You know, that is Michael Moreland's fault. He edits them down for time.
I know that, but it made no sense to have the kids fighting in the background, you know?
I did not realize that. Absolutely.
Right.
All right, Ben, thank you so much. It was a pleasure having you on the show. Would you be willing to come back on?
Absolutely, whenever you need me. Love this community. It's certainly the most exciting thing that's ever happened to me.
All right. Next time, I hope we could fill that other seat in front of you and maybe have Rob or Eric on too.
Yeah, although I'm actually relocating to Los
Oh, you're going
Angeles
to California?
next month, so maybe we'll get, I don't know, Chris or Sandy.
I was hoping that I can get Chris when I come out there.
See what I can do.
All right, thank you. You have a great day. Thanks a lot, Ben.
You too, thank you.